howdy, Roadrunner Flies here. Today we're going to tie a simple white woolly bugger. This isn't tied by me, but this is just a perfect example. Simple, one of the best patterns around. So we're going to start off with a Daiichi size 8 hook and a 3.66 millimeter bead. Pretty positive, maybe a little bigger than that. So first off, we're going to start off with some lead wire. You can glue the bead down. I usually do personally, but since I'm going to put wire and to make this kind of quick and easy instead of watching paint dry, basically, we're not going to do that. So take your wire, roll it down, and you're just going to wrap it. Wrap it around a couple times. You're going to wrap that. Then you're going to kind of push it together. And then just fold these tag ends over. And if you need to, you can helicopter them off or cut them off. Pinch it together. Now that I have this, nice kind of all in a straight line almost, I'm going to shove it under my bead. Keeps my bead in place. So now, you can have it in the middle if you'd like, but with putting it in the head, it kind of gives it, the head sinks down first, so it gives it a nice action when it's in the water. The head sinks down and you pop it up. Kind of nice jigging action to it instead of just falling kind of almost straight down. So now that we have that, we're going to take some of our semi-thread. As this can focus anytime. There we go. This is a little thick of thread to do, but at the moment this is what I have. So we're going to start off by putting some thread right behind our wire. Right behind it. Then we're going to wrap down the body. Then we're going to cut our excess. Gonna wrap to about the barb of the hook. You can go a little bit farther, and then we're gonna take our thread back up the shank, back up to the head of our fly, and we're gonna put some wraps on this wire. Really keep that wire in place. And then you're gonna return your thread to about the middle of the fly. You can also put some super glue on this too. I would recommend it. You don't have to. But now that we got this down, we're gonna tie in some wire. This is 0.2 gold wire. I have this on my spool. I don't cut it off to make it easier. I'm just going to pull some out. I'm going to set the bobbin on my table. And I'm going to take the wire. I'm going to tie the wire into the body. It's tied in. Then I'm just going to give it a couple wraps all the way back to our stopping point. And now we're just going to set that out of the way. What helps is you take your mom's hair clips, very handy in flight tying. You can actually clip it to your vise, holds the wire, doesn't move. It's totally out of the way. Nice tea break. Now that we're here, we're gonna take some marabou. So we got our marabou right here. You're gonna want to pick out a good one. You know, you don't want to pick something crappy out. You don't want to tie a fly with something that doesn't got much, like this guy right here, like this stuff, this little fluff. You don't want to use the fluff. You want the good part of the feather. You want like this one right here, this big one right here. This is perfect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this bottom excess. I'm just gonna take it off. We don't need it. Get rid of it. Now you can lick your fingers and do this if you'd like, but I'm gonna just pull the marabou forward. Get into them small fibers pulled out. I'm going to figure out what I like. So you can measure. Some people really like measuring. You know, when you do it after a while, you kind of just figure out what you like and where you need to put it. You don't got to measure. But I'm thinking, you can kind of measure it out. I'm thinking I like that. It's not a super big, bushy, or long tail like a leech. Like some of them leeches, how they have super long tails. we're going to take it right there. So now I'm going to hold it. I'm just going to drop my thread. I'm going to do a loose wrap, not a tight one. 2 loose ones. Then my third one, I'm going to get a little tighter, and then I'm going to start going down. And as you're wrapping, you're going towards the bead. So as you can see, I'm going towards the bead now, and I have this nice, perfect right here. Then fold your feather over. Wrap up the hook shank. And we're going to tie in our feather. The feather is basically going to be what's building our body. So I'm going to hold the feather now. I'm going to drop my thread over. Now again, doesn't got to be tight. It can be loose. Get a couple of them down. And then, let's fix our hook real quick. And then you can kind of pull tight and finish wrapping the body. And we're going to return our thread to about the hook. Then we're going to take our scissors that are buried under marabou and cut it. And boom. So now we have a tail. Now we need to get some flash. So depending on what kind of flash you want, some flash right here, we're going to cut it. And what I like doing is I like taking a big piece and I like folding it over, tying it in. So we got to tie it in on this side, 2 big strands, couple thread wraps. So we're going to take same thing the other side. I'm going to take a long piece. It's a long piece right here, and I'm just going to fold it over. Fold it over, and then just tie it in. Holding it with my finger on the tail. You know, another loose wrap just to get started. Then as soon as it's down there, you can do some tight wraps. Back down. And there we go. So now we're going to trim our excess. Now that we have that done, we're going to take some of our body. We're going to take some chenille. This is the fine chenille. This is my favorite chenille of all time. It just, to me, it just lays out perfectly. There's something about this one. I've tried a lot of chenilles that just don't lay out. In my opinion, this one really lays out good. So I'm going to take my chenille, and I'm just going to pull these fibers right off. So I just have, basically, if I can pull it off, there we go. That's all I have. So there's no body left of it. It's just pretty much the thread of it. Now that I have a good tying point, I am going to tie this in to the back of the hook. Again, we're going to start off with a nice loose wrap. Wrap down, and we're going to get tighter. And take our thread all the way to the bead. And we're going to trim our chenille. You can leave it like all together so you save material, but the only bad thing about that is then you have to fold all of that chenille usually over, and it can be in the way, so this makes it easier. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my bobbin and I'm just gonna get it out of the way. I don't have, usually there's a nice tool that holds your thread over there, but we're poor, so we're just gonna pull the thread over there. And what you can do is see how it the thread kind of moved away. We're just gonna take our whip finish tool. I'm just going to do a quick whip finish over here. Just get the thread away. Whip finish at the wrong point. I'm going to do a quick whip. Oh my Jesus. I am great at fly tying if you guys can't tell. Wow. Too much thread. Let's try that again. Boom. Okay, now I'm going to take our chenille. You can use your rotary. This is a rotary if you would like. I'm not gonna, which kind of made that last step I just did useless. But I'm gonna take the chenille. I'm just gonna start wrapping up the body, building a nice base, going right over. We're gonna end our chenille right about here. Now to make this easier, if you have some type of clip or something heavy to hold on to your material, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clip onto it, and it's not gonna move, it stays there. So now I can come in here with my thread, and I'm gonna get one wrap behind the chenille, 2 wraps, and then I'm gonna do 2 wraps in front of it. Then take our scissors, I'm gonna cut the excess. So boom, here we are. Now, we're gonna take some saddle rooster. Look for a good piece. I'm gonna do this one right here. This looks like a good one. All I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna rip this bad boy off. And kind of same concept. I'm gonna get rid of all this, not really fluff, but these really fibers that don't really move. They're almost like slopping. Really hard fibers that don't like moving. So now that I pulled the material off, I'm just gonna slide my fingers up it a little bit, straighten them out. Also gonna kind of go a little, pull some of the fibers out. Some of these big fibers really like sticking together, so you can kind of play around with them, move them around. Now, I'm gonna take my feather, And you guys see how it is curved? So I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna make sure it's curving towards my hook point. I don't want to do it like this. You can, but it's more gonna look like I believe it's called a wet woolly, where feathers are more pointing towards the bead. I want my feather, where's my little fly I just showed you guys? Here we go. Oh, whoa, hit the camera. As you can see, they're pointed towards the hook. So, we're gonna take our feather, put it right behind our bead, and I'm gonna do a loose wrap. And I'm gonna do a really tight one. Then I like folding it all back and doing a nice tight one. And then you're gonna have your little stem, your little excess. You can cut that off. And now, you can take hackle pliers and wrap your saddle rooster, or you can do it by hand, or even use your rotary. I personally like doing it by hand. I feel like I can do the best with my hand. So before we do that, we're gonna unclip our wire. We're gonna roll some of it up. We're gonna get ready to use the wire on our hackle. You can wrap your thread down and use the thread to capture your saddle rooster and the wire, or you can just have the wire capture it. It's all up to you, your preference. So I'm gonna take my feather, I pulled it down, I'm just gonna start wrapping. And you kind of figure out how much feather you have really depends on your fly. You know, I may have a lot of room, so I can make it really bushy, or you may not have a lot. Really depends on your fly and the piece you selected. So I'm wrapping down. What also helps sometimes is as you wrap, you can put your finger on that wrap and it holds it in place so you can adjust, kind of see where you're at. I'm going to continue wrapping. I'm going to use my finger again to catch it. Or you can even use what I had here, basically to catch it with the wire. You can use these to hold on to the feather. And see, this is where I'm at. What I like doing though, is I'm going to use those at the end. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to go back to where I had, use my finger to catch my feather again. And now that I'm here, I'm going to take my little nippers, or you can even use your hand. We'll use my hand to make this easier so people can really know. Fiddle with it a little bit. And now that I have it in a good place, I am going to wrap it forward. So I'm going to pinch it again. This is my feather, and now I am just going to fold it over and leave it there. And this is the exact same step if you weren't using wire. You could take your thread. What you'll do is you'll take your thread before the hackle, take your thread, tie in your hackle, take your thread down the hackle to here, and then you have your feather here, and you'll have your hackle to finish it. Either way it works. So now we're going to take our wire. You know what, if I were to just cut this, it'd make life a lot easier for you guys. Here we go. Let's cut the wire. So, now I take my wire, and I'm really going to try to be careful when I wrap my wire, because I don't want to trap too many fibers. So I'm going to wrap my wire over our first feather, or the ending of our feather. Then I can take the clip off. And now I'm just going to weave the wire through. Try to not capture a lot of my fibers. Weave her all the way through it. See, there's a bunch of fiber that's cut right there. And just weave it back out. Weave her through. And then I like to pull my feathers all the way back, and we're going to wrap our wire right on the bead. And then we'll take our thread, just a couple wraps. Try to keep our feathers all the way back. And take our wire, helicopter it off. Sometimes this can be a little pain in the butt, so we're going to just use scissors right over here. When you're fly tying too, have two pairs of scissors. Never use your good pair on wire. Trust me, they'll wear out quick. So have a sheety pair and a good pair. So now that we're here, I'm just going to pull these other feathers back. And we're going to lay out some more thread. And we're basically done. Now we're going to whip finish, or however you like finishing your flies. Oh, we're going to stop right there. We're pulling fibers. Another quick trick, so you don't capture a lot of your fibers. Your mom's hair clip. I'm gonna put it on there and it's gonna capture all the hacklings out of the way. Take my scissors, clean anything up that I need to be cleaned. And then we're gonna take our whip finish, do a whip finish on it. Whip finish, we're gonna cut our thread. Ooh, I about knocked the camera down again. Fix that bad boy. There we go. And then boom. Then we're gonna wanna cut. You can cut this little excess from your feather if you're super worried about it. If not, it really doesn't matter, really. We'll cut it. And that is a woolly booger. Now you can put some, oh, take it back, we're not done. We're gonna trim your flash. You don't want them to have to all be the same size, but you know, you don't want them to be super long, so we're gonna trim them up a little bit. Okay, and that is a woolly bugger. And you can put some head cement, glue, whatever you feel like. But if you have a good finish on your fly, it'll stay good, but you know, I recommend putting glue. Make sure, personally, I can't stand when the bead spins. That just blows, it just destroys me. I can't stand it, but there's your woolly booger right there. Super simple and effective. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. You know, any comments, let me know what flies I should do next. And yeah, have a good one. Tight lines.